Judy here, Dr. Judy WTF, What the Freud, and we are certainly having a lot of What the Freud's micro and macro, and we're going to be addressing what I started a few weeks ago, the topic of living the mind map way, becoming humane, from being human to becoming humane. And I want to welcome a really, really special person, somebody that I feel a very deep sense of I love. I That's the best word I can think of, and I want to frame it in a certain context. And I don't have to tell everyone that the state of the world is, as Tony, my host, said, my mind map is playing out, and I'm not happy about it, not at all. And I want to go through everything, but first, I want to say that I am Jewish, Dr. Judy Rosenberg, pretty Jewish name. And I went into the field of psychology because I genuinely wanted to help people. And when I say I want to help people, it's not like I want to help only Jewish people or only Christian people or only this. I just want to help people. I'm only here on the planet for a short period of time. And my commitment is to leave this world in a little better shape than it's in. And I hope I've done that at least on a micro level. I don't know if I'll be around to accomplish macro level, but we have to start somewhere. So I just want to introduce everyone to Dr. Taleen Kalaf. Could you say it properly?
Kayla.
How would you pronounce it?
Kayla.
Caleb. Okay. So Dr. Caleb is a doctor of medicine, and we are both in the profession of healing people. And I bet you don't put your ism hat on when you're treating your patients. You don't look through a cracked lens of perception of isms and say, well, that person's Jewish, so I guess I just won't deal with any healing there. This person is Muslim, so I don't know about that either because I'm Christian. I mean, we don't do that.
Mm-mm. No.
So we're both under. I'm sorry. Were you going to say something?
No, I just wanted to say that I was very fortunate to come across you when I had moved out here to California, and I was lucky to have done your mind map. And I feel like if anyone has the opportunity to go through it with you on a personal level, it was well worth the time and investment into it. And you knew I was a Palestinian Christian, and you helped me heal from the inside out through my generational traumas and everything that I had experienced. And we shared a lot of history together, and I just find it very special. And I just adore you and love you very much. And I'm so grateful to have come across your path. So I just wanted to
That is so sweet, and this is not a paid advertisement.
no, not at all.
I
Yeah.
really, really appreciate you publicly saying that, and I can say, with regards to you, when I had COVID, um, I was talking to you and you said, hey, Dr. Judy, if you don't feel well, if you don't get immediate help and you're really needing somebody there for you, I'm just coming over. I'll be just, don't hesitate, just call me. And it gave me a really, really comforting feeling. And I think both of us, one thing special is that we don't relate to each other through our isms. And unfortunately, the world is so splintered right now. Like, sure, we're having conversations about our isms. However, today's message is something different. There's curtain number one. Let's all take positions. And I think part of human nature is I'm right, you're right. I want to offer everyone another curtain, like a curtain number two, which is something that I ideally said back in 2001. I want to read it to you because it's in my book, Be the Cause, Healing Human Disconnect, which everybody can get a free copy of PDF version. Just ask for it, and we'll get it to you on your laptop or wherever you're reading it from. Okay, so this was me back in 2001. I don't think I've changed very much. Back in 2001, I was having a conversation with a friend of mine about the divided, suffering, self-destructive state of humanity. We spoke of how ideologies that fracture our conscience, we spoke of how disconnection between people leads to isms, oppressive, discriminatory ideologies that fracture our interconnectedness, creating a pathway to annihilation. Isms of theology, Catholicism, Judaism, Hinduism, Buddhism, Muslimism, and on, political divides, and so on and so forth, which have created conflict on a global scale. So this is the problem here. And then I said, I was thinking how sick I was of all these isms, and I said, isn't it time that we join the human race? And as these words escaped my lips, the seed of inspiration was born within me to create a pathway of interconnection. Now, I want to qualify that. That does not mean that I'm not going to be Jewish. That does not mean that whoever you are, you're not going to be, because of course you're going to be. The purpose of being who we are is to interconnect and share our wisdom, share our culture, share our light with the rest of humanity. Because if we don't, this is a truth, undeniable truth, whether we like it or not, we are all interconnected. That's not a threat. That's the truth. And if a bomb goes off in who knows where, that toxicity floats right over the oceans. And, there are no borders. We're trying to put these borders, but there are no borders on our air. There are no borders on our water. There are no borders in our psyche,
right?
In our soul. There are no borders there. And so we have to be really, really careful how we are directing our consciousness. So with that said, I hope at least you and I could see it here as representative of a curtain number 2, which is to be more humane. As healers, as mothers, as people who are in the profession of helping whoever comes through our door.
Which is something we always have to work on and do. Oftentimes, I think that's why now through the medical education, they are honing really, they're really taking an initiative to make sure that different cultures are represented, mm-hmm. and that we are exposed to different people with different mm-hmm. mindsets, mm-hmm. Just so that we are able to appropriate care to them without these biases that we already have from whatever environment we grew up in. Oftentimes you will see people who have a bias towards us, the healers, or physician or whomever that they are seeking care from. But it's really important for us to make sure that we don't pass on that bias to our patients. We're going to always run across patients that we don't agree with their lifestyles, their background history. I had one time a guy who was a murderer. I still treated him like I would have anybody else. I treated him the same as I would have the woman who just, was next door with an injured foot or something. It's something that we don't shy away from in our field. And it just would be nice if the rest of the world could adapt that mindset, to respect everybody's autonomy, to understand that everyone has differences, and to just make sure that we treat everyone with equal respect. You don't have to love everybody, but you have to at least respect everybody and give some sort of dignity to that. And that, I think, is part of humanity. And if you do give that sort of love, that's even another fulfillment in just each individual self. Like me giving love to other people through empathy, through compassion, it's fulfilling for me, and it's enhanced my life tremendously. And I'm very honored that I have the ability to be a physician, and something that I'm very, I'm excited that I get to share that experience alongside with you, who you found similar happiness from being able to do those things as well.
Very much so. Could you talk a little bit about the Hippocratic Oath? Because we've got to borrow from wisdom that is an umbrella of truth and protection for all humanity. And I think the Hippocratic Oath is representative of that. What is the Hippocratic Oath?
The Hippocratic Oath was a oath that was, I believe it was from Hippocrates, a Greek god. I don't want to like slaughter the history because honestly, I'm not 100% on it. But the premise of the Hippocratic Oath is to do no harm, to be able to help serve everybody and to see everybody equally, which is kind of what we were trying to convey today. It's something that you are looking at somebody irrespective of their background, irrespective of their ethnicity, irrespective of their culture or belief system, or whatever paradigms that they might have. You want to help heal them and take them to a point where they're able to stand on their own again.
And that's really parallel to the Board of Psychology's ethics principles, the aspirational ones that in a parallel way, we treat everyone regardless of race and religion and age and socioeconomic. We are devoted to uplifting humanity. So in that regard, both of our fields have an oath in a sense, or an aspirational goal to help people elevate and heal. And so I want to get down to that micro level because as we were discussing earlier, I said to you, boy, it's just a surprise. It's a surprise that we've even gotten along this far as a human race because we can't even get along with our husbands, wives, children's, mother-in-laws, father-in-laws, mothers, fathers, bosses. And so what do we expect?
Right? Very much so. And it's interesting though, like we have to understand each dynamic is unified by certain factors. In a family dynamic, you're unified by sharing the same experience in that household, the same bloodline. I find that when I look between what's going on abroad and what's happening in America, it's vastly different because the basis is different. Here in America, we are all unified on the basis of freedom, freedom of religion, freedom of experience, all these different freedoms that we all like honor so much and we fight for and try to have this justice available to others worldwide. Whether that's the right move or not is a whole other topic, but that's something that that we call democracy, right? Yes. Whereas in these other different countries and all these different like micro worlds around us, their basis is not the same as ours. Their basis are held on belief systems that are faith-based, or I mean, majority are like basically faith-based, or I guess in like England and whatnot, it's based on like whatever their faith is in the royal family. So it's a very interesting dynamic. And I think that might be a reason why here in America you can have your neighbor be Jewish, Hindu, Black, white, Asian, and for the most part, of course, we have our injustices that occur, of course. And it's a beautiful thing that we're trying to fight these injustices and make things right in America. But you do see that we're able to live alongside others who are not our same and do it so well. Whereas in other countries, you don't have the right last name or you have a different faith, you're shunned and isolated into these different like groups.
By the way, we're going to take calls in a minute or two. I just want to get some information out there and talk about the mind map and the amygdala, because I want America to be my safe space. You want America to be your safe space. You don't want to feel like you're going to be attacked for your culture or your religion. I don't either. And so what I'm seeing now is that it's splintering and splintering. It's been splintering on different levels, race and sexuality, and I can't even name all the ways that we have ismed and splintered. And I'm talking publicly, obviously, to everyone who's listening, and I'm asking you to find a place within yourselves to keep this place a safe space. Because if you make it unsafe for others, they're going to make it unsafe for you. That's just the way reactions happen. And so, just to mind map this whole macro situation, and this is a lot of what I learned from my Kabbalah studies, which, by the way, is Jewish mysticism. It's not only for Jews. That's why I like it. It is a system of thinking, and I'll describe it, and I'll describe how it goes from macro to micro. But the macro version is, if you would be so kind as to put the mind map up, the macro version is that if you look at panel 1 where it says the wounds, I'm going to call those the wounds of humanity. Okay, so once upon a time, we were all of one soul. We came from a source. The source didn't label us. Okay, we're just part of the soul, so to speak. And for those of you who are not religious, call it the universe. It doesn't matter. The light, the universe, God, whatever. We were at one. And then the splintering came. And so you could see that the shattering is starting to happen. And then if you move to panel 2, we're starting to crack up and break. You see that? The big shattering there. And the human soul is no longer unified. It's starting to splinter. And as a doctor, you know what happens when skin separates and gunshot wounds create trauma. And I, as a psychologist, know what happens when people are hurt and disconnected from and betrayed and hit. And mainly my specialty, as you know, is healing from narcissistic abuse, which is the wound of apathy, which is a huge problem. We just don't care. And so this wound shatters us, whether it's physical or emotional or a combination of the both of these woundings. And then we can't think straight because the amygdala kicks in. And as you know, the amygdala is the fight, flight, freeze, and fawn part of our primitive brain. It's very animalistic. And if you look at what's going on in the world, we're pretty animalistic, which is why I'm making such a big deal of let's go back to humane. And, you know, I shouldn't even say animalistic, really, because I have animals. I have 2 beautiful dogs. And if I could use them as role models for love and unconditional love, then that would be it, okay? My role models. So barbaric, cruel, that's what we can devolve to as a human race. And I want to talk about how we can also evolve into another space, which is what I'm creating today with Dr.
Kayla.
Why can't I? Because I call you Taleen, that's why. Okay, so Dr. Caleb and I want to create something different. I mean, we're very aware of how our cultures impact us. We're not idiots and naive. We are very aware of that. It's just that we cannot fathom hurting each other. It's just like no room for that at all. Okay, so hopefully we could be a tiny little speck of a role model for what's possible. And I want to go back to consciousness is causal, which is the first thing in my book. Okay, so let me see if I can find that. Setting your consciousness. Consciousness, according to Maxwell Planck, is fundamental. I regard matter as derivative from consciousness. We cannot get behind consciousness. Everything that we talk about, everything that we regard as existing postulates consciousness. So going back to my panel 1, if we're not in the consciousness of the light, if we're not in the consciousness of connection, then we're going to play a really dangerous game of life, which is playing out right in front of our eyes as we speak. So panel 2 is the cracking of that unity. And then when we crack our unity, we go to panel number 3, which is a blueprint gone wrong. I like to think about the planet as a blueprint gone wrong, or we're going to have to shift and get a blueprint gone right. And this blueprint gone wrong, as you can see in panel 3, has a lot of toxic haze. So that's the beginning of trouble. Trouble begins when families are not unified. Trouble begins when we have mother-infant disconnect, father-infant disconnect, sister-brother rivalry, and then it goes into macro. And then these blueprints create all kinds of horrible negative core beliefs and attitudes about other people, like the world is not safe, or if I don't side with this or that one, then I'm a bad person. And then on a personal level, I'm not good enough, I'm not this enough, I'm not that enough. Those are the core beliefs that then get triggered and end up in chaos, defenses, and breakdowns. So if you can go to panel number 4, 5, 6, this is where we're at. And I keep telling my patients that we generally as a human race live in panels 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And that's what I call the Freud. And now we cannot afford it anymore because we're gaining momentum and it's going so macro that the chaos is not just, oh, I'm so sorry you're not getting along with your boss or your husband or your child. Now the chaos is so big, and the isms are not just your individual defense mechanisms of drug, sex, rock and roll, and isolationism and whatever other defense mechanisms you've got going, but our defenses are now nuclear. We have nuclear defenses. Okay, that's how scared we are as a human race. That's how much we lack trust. And then you could see the end game of panels 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If you could put up panel number 6, I just want everyone to see that, because there's the end game. You know, that picture was both meant to be a metaphor for clashing and nuclear disaster, meaning we blow each other apart, or what I like to think of as a curse by design and an opportunity to paradigm shift out of this mess. And I'm personally praying that whatever's happening is bringing to the surface of our souls what we have to look at, and that we're going to take this not as an opportunity to annihilate, but as an opportunity to transform. And in order to transform, we need critical mass. So I'm throwing in the dice with you, Dr. Taleen. I'll call you that, okay? Okay, I'm throwing in my dice. I'm voting for human race and humanity and humane. And one thing that I have been saying a lot during my last few months of my show is it's not what people do to us, it's what we do with what people do to us. Right. Okay, so really it's about me personally, you personally, everyone listening personally. How are you going to be in the face of this? Is it going to warp your soul? Are you going to become a cruel murderer, or are you going to remain humane? And I think that's what's going to turn the key from being the cause, from being at the effect of, I should say, to being the cause. Because as my Kabbalah teacher reminded me, it's when we're in our darkest place that we can reveal the most light. So I'm banking on that. Okay, we're in our darkest place, and we, starting with you and me and anybody else that wants to join in, can reveal the most light. So I want to read something else from my book. I have to read my book more often so I can remind myself of all the ideas that I had back in 2001 and 2012 when I wrote the book. Okay, so this is from a little chapter in my book called The Precipice. Okay, and that's how I feel that that's where I feel we're on a precipice.
Yeah.
So here's a quote. Well, that's where we are. You say we're on the brink of destruction. You're right. But it's only on the brink that people find the will to change. Only at the precipice do we evolve. This is our moment, everybody. I'm talking to everybody. This is our moment, everybody. Don't take it from us. We are close to an answer. It still gives me chills. And you know, where I got this quote from was this is a quote from the character Professor Barnhart, The Day the Earth Stood Still, a beautiful movie, a 1940s movie, Edmund North's movie, 1940s. And as I remember it, because I haven't seen it for a long time, the aliens came down and they were shooting at the earth. And of course, we shot back and they announced that they were here to give us a message. So we had to listen to the message. And the message was, hey guys, you know, you better get it together on the planet, or I'm sorry, we're going to have to take the planet away from you because you don't deserve it. And that's sort of what I'm feeling right now, is that either we're going to earn the right to this beautiful planet, that we can create something fresh and new and interconnected, or we're going to lose our rights. And it's a matter of critical mass. And that's why it's critical that everyone have their own paradigm shift. And I don't know what it looks like individually, but I think when you look into your heart and your mind and your soul, you'll know what that is. And I want you to find the E on the word humane, whatever that means to you. So let me shift to panel number 7. Okay, and then I'll take some questions because I'm sure people have questions. Okay, so this is my model for interconnection, whether it be a micro level interconnection or a united humanity. You see, the isms are still there. I didn't say let's dissolve the isms. So one ism could be Catholicism, Judaism, Muslimism, black, white, you know, whatever. It doesn't matter. The isms are still there. However, they're not clashing. They are sharing. They're opening their intellect to each other. They're opening their hearts to each other. They're opening their technology to each other. They're sharing recipes with each other. They're building communities together. And this was my ideal. Again, I'm, you know, a Beatles kind of a back in the day. My favorite song always is, you know, imagine all the people. Okay, imagine all the people. So we are the people. And now we have to be the cause. We cannot be at the effect of what was created out of this darkness and resentment and betrayal and so on. We're way past that now. We have to be the cause. So anything you want to add to that?
I think that's spot on. And I think as being part of the cause, we have to look into how we portray that for the generations to come.
100%.
It, where how we evolve is we usually are like, you know, that they say the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. And I think like parenting is a key component to it. That's why I was really glad I did the mind map so then I could continue and be a better version of a parent for my 2 boys. I had an amazing mother who only preached love. Despite what the world around me would say, sometimes I'd come home and, you know, I'd say, oh, so we're not being friends with so and so because this, that, or the other. And my mom would stop me right away and say, no, you love everybody just the same. Growing up, I grew up as a Palestinian Christian in my household. You know, we heard oftentimes about like what happened overseas with Israel, with Jerusalem, with the Nakba and whatnot. But there's never ever a sense of hatred. I never got that from my family. We never had anyone say like, kill the Jews, off with the Jews, nothing like that. It was more like they had a very horrible time with what happened to them, and now we're having a very horrible time with what's happening to us. And it was just like more a sense of understanding that everyone has struggles and everyone goes through a lot of hardships. And it's really important, even if we have some things that we feel like there were some wrongdoings here and there, you don't have resentment. Because what happens when you hold on to resentment? All you do is it just leaches out and it creates hate. And who does hate really help? It only hurts ourselves, and it hurts our children, and it hurts our children's children. The only environment that you ever actually win in is when you have love that is the epitome of your belief system. When you have love and graciousness and respect and dignity, that's how you build a life and a world that we would pride our children to live in and to grow in. And I was fortunate, I grew up with a mom who understood that, and like a family that like gave us that to like grow and be nourished in. And that's what I hope to continue to evolve and practice for my own children, to have that mentality that you love everybody despite them having differences of beliefs, of opinions, different skin colors, abilities, whatever it may be, that we need to have love be the center, respect, and that cohesiveness. We don't have to adopt everyone's belief system, but you have to live and learn how to like work together. And experiencing other people's belief systems, looking at it, like even when we used to talk about Kabbalah, like it always lit me up with this desire to learn more. And I think that desire to learn from the other is only beneficial to us as a self. And I think
that's right. When we cut off the light of somebody else, we're really depriving ourselves of the light.
Exactly.
When we become insular, then we become limited.
Exactly. And you lose out on stuff.
Yes.
You lose out on learning about all these things that make people so unique and so beautiful. So I think that's important.
You know, which brings me to a very basic point. War and disconnect, and any form of disconnect, is so expensive. Okay, let's just take psychological trauma. It is so expensive. You've been traumatized. Now you've got to go to a therapist, and now you've got to go to get acupuncture for your muscle tension, and now you need trauma work, and now your body is out of balance and you eat too much, so now you have to go visit a nutrition. Do you see the chaos? I mean, this is the way it goes. One feeds the other, feeds the other, feeds the other, and now we're breaking down. Now imagine if we had that consciousness, the philosophy of interconnectivity, because all of those billions and billions and billions of dollars that are going toward destruction can be used to feed people, educate people, build medical centers, build beautiful farms, and anything. I mean, the sky's the limit. And all of those funds are now going toward. Remember, Freud talked about eros and thanatos. You know, there's always been this tension between the life force and the death force, and I feel like it's staring at us in the face. And so the death force is sort of like everything that encodes death into us. And I even mean on a micro basis. If we're eating food that's full of junk and cholesterol, if we're smoking, if we're drinking, if we're insulting people, if we're hitting or anything like that, we are encoding the death code. On the other hand, if we encode healthy food, healthy lifestyle, healthy attitude, healthy connections with people, we're encoding life code. And that's what I mean by being the cause. So if you look at panel number 8, okay, that is my model of joining with people who will evolve us. And that's why I have Dr. Taleen on the show, because she evolves me. this discussion evolves me. We're not sitting here splintering and isming. We're talking about a better model, and there's my better model. See the DNA strand? It's the clean, new version of the human race where we're all in it together. We're helping each other up the ladder. We're helping each other evolve. The water around us is clean. It's not polluted. No garbage and dead fish floating around. It's just nice and clean with dolphins. And we have the capability. Remember, critical mass can shift us. And so this is a very, very heavy time where we all have to put our consciousness in the right place, because that's the only thing that I know of that can shift us from being at the effect of this darkness to opening it up for interconnection and reconnection and healing. And let's take some questions. I'm sure that there are people in the chat room who have some questions and comments, and please keep the comments peaceful, I ask you, because this is a show to become more humane. So yeah, let's open that up.
All right, we're going to take a call and see what they have to say. I think it's from Nashville.
Okay.
615.
Yeah, thank you.
Hello.
Hello. Yes.
Yes, I'm here. Yeah, it was actually, ironically enough, it was a friend of mine. She called about 30 minutes ago, and she has gone to sleep now. But that's not a disrespect to the show. I'm sorry. She's going through some medical stuff, but I've been listening, and you guys have you've touched on so many topics that interested me. I'm glad that she gave me the phone. And God bless you all for, trying to open everybody's minds up to different things, because Lord knows that the only way we could get further on is to get to know each other better and get to deal with each other better. We got to, racism, that should already been done a long time ago.
And it's not.
I don't understand that.
Okay. And,
it's not.
Nothing's done.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's not done. And I see it every day. I grew up in Washington, D.C. I'm 50 years old. And I live in Nashville. But I've seen racism on every level. It's not just one, white, black, white, Chinese, Arabic, or anything. It's all around the board. I've got a couple of my best friends. I know it sounds cliche, but they're Muslim, and they're as peaceful, and they love everybody. They take care of their family. They're not about hate and murder. If you go through all the biblical, even in our Holy Bible, you go through the Crusades. I mean, there's some pretty violent stuff in there, but those were different times. And so we have to evolve and learn how to tolerate and deal with things that we didn't think we were going to have to tolerate and deal with. It's like what's going on with, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, I make a big deal about stepping into each other's shoes. It's called empathy. Okay. And really, it takes a lot of discussion, but when the amygdala is going strong, when bodies are being blown apart and people's lives are being threatened, it's really, we're on fight flight. We're not in problem solving mode. So I think we all have to understand
we're in defense.
We're not in our right minds. Okay. And there is going to be a lot of trauma. I'm already getting Facebook inquiries. Hey, I need help. And, I'm not going to say, are you Jewish? Oh, you're Jewish. I'll help you. Oh, are you Arabic?
I don't care. I don't care if you're Republican, Democrat, Independent. I don't care.
Right. I don't think that way. And I want to, speaking of that, I want to share a dream with you that I had back in the day. I think I was about 35 years old, and I had a dream that I was in the middle of the ocean on a rock, and this dolphin came up to me, and it was representative of the source to me in the dream. The dolphin was like God visited.
That was your understanding through the dream. Okay.
Right.
I'm a very avid. Yeah.
Right. So in the dream, I said,
No.
"Oh my God, I only have one shot at this. I've got to ask the right question." See, like I still feel that way. I'm always, "Oh my God, I've got to get it right, or the world is going to blow up." So okay, so I thought about, what question am I going to ask the dolphin? Okay, so I said to the dolphin, "Who rules the ocean?" And the dolphin looked at me and said, "You're asking the wrong question." And I got it, because they didn't think that way. They didn't think who rules. This is power and control. Who rules? Who rules? The dolphin was saying,
I feel. Yes. Yes. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to hold you up there.
No, not at all. So what I got out of that was, we're all interconnected. And so before I wrote the book, before I became a psychologist, all of these things were messages, symbols were appearing in my life that shaped and formed me to who I am today and what I want to accomplish. And, there is a personal discipline. There's a personal disappointment, because back in 2008, I wanted to launch a project called Join the Human Race, Healing Global Disconnect. Well, I had to pare it down to micro level. But go ahead. What did you want to?
I was really relating with you about the dreams, because those type of dreams started with me at the age of 12. And unfortunately, the first one was a premonition of my brother passing away, who was 6 years older at the age of 18.
Ooh, okay.
And I saw it. I mean, I completely, and I'm colorblind, by the way, too. But in those dreams, when they happen, that's the only time I've ever seen in color.
Oh.
I swear to God.
Wow.
If I'm lying, I'm lying. But anyway, that first dream, long story short, was getting hit with the news that my brother died in 1986. And it was a week before he died. And I went through the whole week. That dream hit me so damn hard that I wanted to tell him, and I didn't. And I didn't say a word about it. I just held it in. And so I had that dream, and sure enough, on a Thursday, July 3rd, 1986, he died saving the lives of other people. And so then I had the dreams with my dad, which is getting to your point. My dad told me on a divine dream, after he passed away in 2008, I had one of those dreams where I could see in color, and my dad was holding my hand. I was just a little boy, and I was just like probably 5 in the dream.
Was he already gone?
Yeah, yep. He had died. It had been about a year. And that dream finally came. So Dad came to me in that dream, and he said, and I'm just a little 5-year-old, man. That's when I looked up to my dad the most, and he looked just the same, and he's holding my hand. Everything's in color. And he said, "Hey, look, we're standing in this beautiful field, all the colors and everything, which I never get to see because I'm colorblind. I'm just like basking in it. And there's a clothesline with clothes, like sheets, blowing in the wind, drying, clothesline, and the old days." And my dad says to me, he says, "Do you see the angels?"
The
and
what?
I said,
"No,
angels? Daddy. The angels. And I said, "No." And he said, and I'm looking right at him when he asked me, and he said, "Look again." And when I looked back, there were little angels blowing through some type of like bugle or whatever it is that angels blow through, that was causing the wind for the to blow the sheets that were drying in the wind. And so he said, every little thing, all the way to that, God is in control. And it stuck with me. And I know that's a lot to try to digest right there. But what he was saying was, even the wind, the way a leaf falls off a tree and hits the ground, God has something to do with that.
Okay, now I want to ask you this. If you believe, like I do, that we are co-creators, okay? So it's not, because we're hopefully we're in partnership with God. And if we are indeed coming from the light, God, the universe, if we were at one point at one, so then how do you see our part now? See, I talk about cracked lens of perception. That's our very limited, slim, broken glass lens of perception, the life that we're seeing today. But when we dream, when these visions come to us, we expand our vision, and then they call it visionary, right? We become visionaries. So what's if you're now co-creating, what does that humaneness look like from your point of view?
Well, I don't know about co-creating it, because it was created before it ever got to my brain. So I'm just sharing something that was already created, is the way I look at it. And also, if it was, and if I had more time, I would share more of my experiences of like premonitions and things like that have come true, which creates a real problem with me. I already have PTSD. I'm an ex-firefighter, and and I have had premonitions, and I have a lot of nightmares, and I got PTSD dreams, and every time I have a nightmare, I don't know if it's a premonition anymore, because I've had so many premonitions starting at the age of 12 with my brother. That's kind of what I was really getting to. And I've got a great psychiatrist. I don't take any drugs. I don't drink. I tried medication about 10 years ago when I kind of went off the deep end, and it didn't work for me. I'm not saying it don't work for anybody else, but it didn't work for me. It made me worse.
I'm thinking of what you're saying, and we as human beings, when we're traumatized, what do we need? We need human touch. We need human care. And so the big disconnect is apathy, violence, any of that. The big connect.
Oh, yeah.
That's it. That's our medicine.
Yeah, absolutely. And then when it gets into some of that's dangerous. What I mean?
Go ahead.
What like some of that can be dangerous. You gave 3 examples there. Repeat those 3 examples.
Okay, how did you see that? The dangerousness?
No, I'm just there was 1 out of the 3.
You mean
if you can't remember?
Look, I talk a lot about power and control. What's the opposite of power and control? Love and intimacy and empathy. And we just can't afford it anymore. This is a game. This is a game we can't play anymore. The gig is up. The game is over. So what can we do? And I'm talking to everybody now. What can you do? What can I do? What can we all do to play a new game of life? Because ultimately the mind map is to teach everyone to play a better game of life. And in my video, I have a particular flyer, but I'm going to give it to anybody who asks for it. It's called Living the Mind Map Way. I don't know, Tony, if you have that in your, yeah, there it is, Living the Mind Map Way. And it's not a religion, it's not an ism, it's directed toward the human race, talks about consciousness as causal, talks about shutting down our reactions and understanding our core beliefs and becoming proactive and be a permeable person that invites other people to impact you and your consciousness, and to take the opportunity to use the darkness as a shift into a breakthrough. And then that will lead to the better game of life. So whoever wants that, just let me know. Christiana Davidson.
Yeah, I'd be interested in that myself.
Yeah, just write me, Dr. Judy at psychologicalhealingcenter.com. We'll send it to you.
You know what's wild is I don't have you on my phone because I'm using my friend's phone, and she went to bed. So, and she's got this cheap ass phone. Excuse my language. Hopefully the FCC won't fine us. But tell me what your link is, because I have my phone in my hand.
Okay, well, easy. You can go to psychologicalhealingcenter.com. The number on the screen is not my number. It's the number for the studio. You can personally.
Yeah, I don't see anything.
Oh, it's okay. Okay.
Tell me
yeah, you could personally.
I'm just going to Google it.
Just email.
All right, 321.
No, just email me, Dr. Judy, DrJudy, pretty easy, at psychologicalhealingcenter.com. You can also go on my website, psychologicalhealingcenter.com, and just ask for this particular flyer, and we'll get it out to you. So, this is a thick conversation, Dr. Taleen.
It is. It is, and I appreciate your time, and I'm sure there's a lot of people that really want to talk, and I want to let you know that I'm actually glad. I was shocked when she handed me the phone, and I was about to hang it up, and I started listening to what the both of you were saying, and I was yeah, I mean, you're obviously my kind of people I could have a cup of tea with, and
let's do it.
I'm trying to work my way through, some things with dealing with the way things have changed. Like I've got friends that are gay, and I got past that. I don't have a problem with it. No problem. I don't care whatsoever. I've never had a problem with the pigment of somebody's skin. I don't care what color they are.
Well, my dogs are the best role model. I mean, do we really care? Do we really care what color our unconditional loves are? And that's how we need to think.
If everybody was closer to my dog, I've got a great 8-year-old blue heeler. My dog before her actually, believe it or not, lived to be 21, and she was a red heeler.
You must have been loved. I'm going to leave a bit of time for maybe one more call, but I can't.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't mean to take up everybody's time, but it's been a blessing to talk to you all.
Pleasure.
And I will stand by and listen to the next caller.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So the message is simple. Let's stop calling each other black, white, Arab, Jew, blah, blah. We all know whatever culture we belong to. That's not an issue. How about just, hi, my name is, okay? Connect to people and connect from the heart. And understand.
Sorry.
Pardon me?
And to remember to go off of what you're saying, to remember that we all love and feel sadness and hurt and pain and joy and happiness just the same. We all bleed red, we all feel pain and love just the same.
Absolutely. So I don't know if there are any comments. I think we could take maybe a very, very short question or call. Is there anybody that wants to ask?
Not really a specific question, but people are definitely enjoying the conversation. So thank you for everybody that's commenting.
Yes, thank you everyone for being in the chat room and listening and opening to a new way of seeing and a new way of being. And I'm just reminding
we do have
that,
one question, Dr. Judy.
Okay, go ahead.
It's from Ron Miller in the chat room. Says, how do you best deal with blame shifting in an argument?
How do you deal with blame shifting?
Yeah.
My easy answer is boundaries. Recognize it to be what it is. If you've really searched your soul and you can own your own stuff, because blame doesn't get us anywhere. Okay, self-reflection and self-correction is the pathway to healing. I talk about that quite extensively in my new video. It's not I'm blaming you. I'm owning my own stuff. I'm looking at things. I want to understand your perspective. If I've done something to hurt you, I want to understand that. If you've done something to hurt me, I want you to understand that. Now let's play a better game of life. So there's no real room for blame shifting. Blame shifting happens when people's membranes are too permeable, and then they soak up other people's pain and blame. And then it's called projective identification. That's the fancy term for swallowing other people's poison. We don't want to swallow anybody's poison, okay? We want to be the light and share the light. No poison swallowing here. So I'm just reminding everybody that Christiana Davidson is going to be leading another webinar on healing from narcissistic abuse starting November the 4th. And we're getting down on a micro level so that we can get our head on straight and our heart in the right place and learn how to play a better game of life. And Dr. Taleen, we are going to definitely continue this discussion. And look, I'm not a leader of a movement or anything like that, but maybe an internal movement where I'm inviting everyone to join the human race. And by that, I mean the humane race. And remember that number one, we are human beings. And now we have to learn and fight for being a humane being. And that's the real fight. There are no other fights that are honorable. Just fight to be humane. How's that for the fight?
I love that. And I love that we share so much, that we're both mothers. We're both healers in our own right.
Yep.
And we're both, at the end of it, human who want to be humane.
Thank you. Really appreciate you being with me on the show today, and to be continued.
Thank you for inviting me. It was a real honor. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, good night, everyone.